The school heartthrob posted a photo of a cat collar with the caption, "Looking for owner." That same night, I added him as a friend and bought all the cat supplies. Excitedly, I knocked on his door. The one who opened the door was the campus heartthrob, wearing a collar. "Where's the cat?" The campus heartthrob hesitated for a moment. Meow. "Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day." Now the story begins. My cat addiction flared up over the weekend. I went home and thoroughly needed my friend's fluffy toast-like cat, which was very easy to bully. Only when it let out dissatisfied meows did I reluctantly let go. On the way back, I suggested in the family group chat that we should get a cat. My mom sternly refused. "Impossible. Raising just you is already exhausting enough. You still have a year until graduation, only coming home on weekends to play master, while on weekdays it's still me and your dad who clean up." My dad went even further by reposting 5 short videos in protest. I returned the favor by reposting over a dozen short videos about the benefits of having a cat. An hour later, both my parents gave in. "All right, you want to raise it yourself, so you'll have to pay for it yourself." I pulled out all the stops, sending a few more cutesy voice messages to the group chat. In the end, the matter concluded with my parents each transferring me a sum of startup capital. Next, what needs to be done is to pick out a kitten. Actually, I had already made up my mind to adopt a stray kitten. When I wasn't planning to have a cat, stray cats were everywhere on campus, but the moment I decided to get one, I couldn't even find a trace of a cat anymore. It was my roommate who gave me an idea. I remember our school has an animal protection club. You could follow their account. If there are kittens available for adoption, they should update the information promptly. By the way, my roommate nudged me with an elbow, smiling mysteriously. "I heard Hogan is there too." I remember Hogan. Back when I first entered school, Hogan gave a speech as the representative of the new students. Just a few blurry photos were enough to make him famous throughout the entire school. Later, we joined the same club. Although we didn't exchange many words, he left a good impression on me. Never expected the school heartthrob to be so kind-hearted. I followed the Animal Protection Society's account. Then, by following this account, I found Hogan. His profile is very clean, filled with photos of kittens, occasionally showing a pair of slender, well-defined hands. The number of comments and likes is quite substantial. Day after day, I left comments under each of his posts, but every message was drowned out. Heaven rewards the diligent. And finally, one day, I refreshed to see Hogan's new update. He posted a photo of a collar, caption, "Looking for an owner." With one more refresh, the post disappeared. It must have been posted by mistake. My eyes lit up. Finally a little stray. And of course I couldn't miss this opportunity. Hearing that I wanted to adopt a kitten, my roommate quickly sent me the contact details of the school heartthrob. I sent a friend request with the note, "Still looking for an owner." 5 minutes later, the friend request was accepted. I simply greeted them and repeated the question, "Still looking for your owner?" After a long silence in the chat, so long that I thought there would be no response, Hogan sent a message, "Who are you?" I was so focused on the cat that I completely forgot to introduce myself. For someone as responsible as Hogan, finding owners for stray animals must also go through a vetting process, right, Hogan? Both you and I were members of the photography club. I wonder if you still remember me. During that team outing for shooting, I fell by the stream. And it was you who carried me back. It was because of this incident that I developed quite a fondness for Hogan. It's just that Hogan got too busy later and didn't attend any of the subsequent team outings. The thank you gift I sent was returned untouched. He only kept a thank you note. I went through the photo album carefully and sent some family photos and videos. Don't worry, I've discussed it with my parents, and they've agreed to it. This time, Hogan replied quickly. "Do your parents know about this?" "Of course you can't keep a cat in the dormitory. It's irresponsible both to the kitten and to your roommates. I still have 1 year left before graduation, so the kitten can stay at home for now. I'll go back to see it every weekend." "Yes," I emphasized. They all agreed and were especially happy to welcome a new family member. "I will definitely provide the best care. No owner could be more patient or responsible than me." The chat window fell silent again. I'm a little impatient. Can I see a video? Photos are fine too. Now is not a good time. I understand. The campus heartthrob is busy. I thought about it. How about you give me an address? I'll come see for myself. I thought I'd receive an address for an animal protection society or a pet hospital. Who would have thought that half a minute later, Hogan sent me his home address. All right, I'll be there by 7 tonight, after finalizing the time with Hogan. I put down my phone and shook my roommate's shoulders. I'm going to have a cat. I'm no longer a wild person without a cat. Picking up the cat tonight does feel a bit rushed. I took half a day off to buy all the necessary cat supplies at the pet store. Everything looked so delicate that I felt overwhelmed, so I ended up calling a friend to help me choose. With her extensive experience in cat care, she helped me eliminate many expensive and unnecessary items. Finally, after checking out, we hurried home with our arms full of bags. By the time everything was set up, there was still an hour left before the scheduled time to see the cat. As expected of you, my friend gave me a thumbs up. I don't feel the slightest flutter for male beauty. My mind is completely occupied by cats, but that's Hogan we're talking about. You might be the first person to know his home address. Aren't you even a little excited? I am a bit excited, actually. I fiddled with the 2 cat beds on the floor. Which do you think the kitten will like more later, this one or that one? In the end, it was my friend who pushed me out the door. All right, you should get going early, with all green lights along the way. I arrived at the entrance half an hour earlier than the agreed time. I sent a message to Hogan. I left a bit early, and I'm already at the door. Are you home? Within 3 seconds, Hogan sent a voice message. There was a slight hoarseness in the voice. The weather has been quite changeable lately, making it easy to catch a cold. Out of kindness, I replied. The weather changes pretty quickly. Be careful not to catch a cold or get a fever. The next second, the door before me swung open. Hogan was wearing a simple white shirt with the top 2 buttons undone. Something black half hidden by the collar. He looked as if he had just showered, his hair still slightly damp. Seeing this face up close was truly breathtaking. For a moment, I was lost in thought and silently reminded myself, don't let lust cloud your mind. Today is about picking up the cat. With great difficulty, I averted my gaze from Hogan's face. Where's the cat? A cat. Hogan froze. Then I saw his face visibly begin to flush, even his ears turning red. Hogan's long eyelashes trembled slightly, as if he was struggling with something. It seems that little Stray means a lot to the school heartthrob. He's reluctant to give it up for adoption to me. I hesitated for a moment. Are you not ready yet? Maybe I should come back in a few days to pick it up. Before I could finish speaking, the Hogan in front of me stiffly averted his gaze. Meow. This time, it was my turn to be stunned. I tilted my head and, in confusion, mimicked his sound. Meow. I read the animal shelter's adoption requirements at least 3 times. Could there be some hidden code I missed? Do adopters have to meow to match a secret code or something? That would be way too embarrassing. I'm just asking because I don't get it. Are there any other requirements for adoption? Hogan, another person, and I spoke almost simultaneously. A third person quickly squeezed into the narrow hallway. You said you had something at home and couldn't make it to the evening match. But I see nothing major is keeping you. Come on, quick. Change your clothes and come with me. We're 1 point away from losing. The moment that person appeared, Hogan suddenly raised his hand and grabbed his own collar, as if trying to hide something. He was having trouble breathing. He looked at me, then at his friend, with a complicated expression. Finally, he just left behind a somewhat hoarse, "Come on," and first, Hogan's friend was very outgoing. After exchanging names, he gave me a thumbs up. I haven't seen Hogan with any girls around before. How did you 2 meet? I briefly explained that I was here to pick up the kitten, but the stray kitten meant for adoption still hasn't shown up yet. Christian looked at me with a strange expression. The stray cats are all settled in the pet hospital that cooperates with the school's animal protection club. I haven't heard of Hogan taking any of them back to raise, have I? Just as I was speaking, a cat's head cautiously pushed open the bedroom door. Christian and I, sitting on the sofa, both held our breath. As if confirming that Christian and I posed no threat, the little gray cat stealthily walked to its food bowl. Now I understand Hogan's strange behavior. The little gray cat is too adorable. He's probably grown attached to it and finds it hard to part with, though he's still too embarrassed to refuse me. Fluffy, like a puffy cloud, I pointed at the little cat and said softly, "It must be it, right? After all, Hogan's family only has this one kitten. How is that possible?" Unexpectedly, Christian raised his voice. "This is the cat Hogan's mother left behind. He's taken it with him through several moves. Hogan would even take it with him if he went out scavenging. He wouldn't give this cat away even if he adopted himself out." The room fell into an eerie silence. I chuckled awkwardly and joked. "Hogan said he was looking for an owner. Besides this little gray cat. Who else needs an owner?" Christian froze. He changed the subject. "Hogan still hasn't finished changing." Christian got up, seemingly intending to go check the bedroom. "Wait," I stopped him. "When I first arrived, his complexion didn't seem quite right. Could he be sick with a fever?" Christian seemed thoughtful, and the next second, he asked directly, "Hogan, are you running a fever?" After a long pause, intermittent sounds came from the bedroom. "Sorry, I'm not feeling well today." "You all should head back first." Hogan coughed twice. "Juliet, I'll contact you again when I find a suitable stray to welcome the kitten home. I've prepared everything." But this time, I returned empty-handed, feeling somewhat disappointed. I couldn't help but retort, "Have you found a more suitable owner than me?" With a snort, Christian beside me turned red in the face from holding back. He desperately covered his mouth, but a bit of laughter still escaped. I belatedly realized that what I had just said might have been somewhat offensive. "I'm sorry, you don't need to apologize." Through the slightly ajar bedroom door, Hogan said, "It's my fault, making you come all this way for nothing." It was Christian who saw me out. He comforted me. "Maybe it just wasn't meant to be this time, but you'll definitely meet your destined kitten next time." I returned home empty-handed. Home wasn't far from school, so I could just wake up early tomorrow and have my dad drive me there again. I also took leave from the counselor. I had just gotten home when my roommate sent a message. "Where's the kitten? Where's the kitten? Why is it so quiet? Take a photo. Let me see my goddaughter. By the way, what about the school heartthrob? Have you two been chatting? Tell me quickly, what did you talk about with him?" Watching the constantly flashing message notifications, I fell silent for a moment. If I told her that when I met Hogan face to face, he only meowed like a cat, wouldn't that be too strange? So I just told my roommate that I didn't get to take care of the cat this time and would have to wait for my next turn. My roommate first expressed some regret for me, but quickly seized on another key point. "Doesn't that mean you'll have another chance to meet the campus heartthrob? Quick, tell me, when you saw Hogan up close, did your heart skip a beat?" Hugging my pillow, I felt rather helpless. If my heart genuinely skipped a beat, I should probably go to the hospital to get it checked. Hogan's face flashed through my mind, and I paused for a moment before sending another nice guy card. Hogan is genuinely great. Adopting stray animals shows his kindness, his personality is wonderful, and his good looks are just one of his many strengths. My roommate's status kept showing typing on their end. I waited for a while, but when no reply came, I went to wash up first. When I returned, there were several new messages in the chat window. "But Juliet, there's something I think you should know. When you went to pick up the cat, I specifically asked around about Hogan," I said. "With his looks and so many people chasing after him, yet he didn't have a girlfriend all through college. How high must his standards be? The school heartthrob isn't just being picky, apparently. He has some psychological trauma." I stared at the message for a while before sending back a question mark. Could it be that he suffered some romantic heartbreak? Hogan's parents divorced early, and he lived with his mother. However, his father was a notorious scoundrel who always came to their door demanding money. Hogan's mother moved several times with him, but the man always managed to find them. A year ago, his mother passed away in a car accident. Hogan had never been in a relationship, possibly because his parents' relationship made him somewhat apprehensive about emotional matters. Apprehensive. I didn't think much of it. After all, my initiative to contact Hogan this time was for the kitten, Just as I put down my phone and closed my eyes, I remembered Hogan with his ears turning red, earnestly imitating a cat's meow. I wonder how his illness is doing now. How are you feeling now? Still running a fever? Within seconds, the system showed that the other party was typing. Hogan typed intermittently for nearly 10 minutes, only to send a single sentence, no fever. That's good then. I set down my phone again, clearing my mind to prepare for sleep. The memories of the day grow increasingly vivid. I can even recall Hogan's trembling eyelashes at that moment, and the instant Christian barged in, grabbing his own collar with that flustered, shy expression. Wait a minute, Hogan, what was that black thing hidden in your collar? I suddenly opened my eyes, abruptly realizing something. Is that a collar? The more I recall, the more familiar that object seems. It bears a striking resemblance to the picture Hogan posted on their account. So this collar isn't what it seems. It was never meant for a cat at all. Hogan must have realized he sent the wrong message. That's why he deleted it so quickly. Then it's not the cat looking for its owner. But I was startled by my own speculation, so much so that I didn't sleep well all night. The next morning, I woke up with dark circles under my eyes. It amused my mom, who was applying a facial mask so much that she even called my dad over to laugh at me together. Two people held up their phones and took a bunch of pictures of me. After a quick breakfast, I was sent back to school for several days afterward. Whenever I heard someone mention the name Hogan, I would instinctively prick up my ears to listen. Juliet, did you hear that? My roommate shook my shoulder. Hogan is going to host the campus top 10 singers competition. Our department has 2 tickets, but everyone else is busy and can't go. Do you want to come with me? That's Hogan in a suit. A suit is a man's best armor. Under my roommate's description, I actually started to imagine Hogan in a suit in my mind. He's good looking, so he actually suits wearing a suit very well, plus the tie clip, shirt garters, and Hogan's collar. Wait, the more I think about it, the weirder it gets. I slammed on the brakes. No, I think I'll pass on going after all. Resistance was futile. My roommate grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and hauled me to the venue. For at least half the match, my gaze was fixed on Hogan. Near the end, my roommate suddenly had a stomachache and shoved her bag at me. Wait for me, I'll be right back. As it turned out, she was gone for half a day, and by the time everyone had dispersed, she still hadn't returned. I found a corner to stand in and quietly sent her a message. Did you fall into the toilet or something? Just as I sent it, a dark figure blocked the light in front of me. I looked up and saw Hogan. He had taken off his suit jacket, his tie was loose, and his shirt was unbuttoned at the top. Juliet, do you want to come catch kittens with me? Kittens, this time. It should be a real kitten, right? Perhaps noticing my evasive gaze, Hogan realized something. That day, I'm sorry, did I scare you? It wasn't really scary. I just sometimes can't think straight. Thinking back now, I'm afraid Christian had already guessed and even hinted at it to me several times, but at that time, I was truly oblivious, completely preoccupied with the little cat. It's fine, just personal hobbies, nothing harmful, for some reason. Just looking at Hogan's face makes me start imagining him wearing all sorts of pretty collars. Seems like it's actually quite fitting. Just then, the phone vibrated with a message from the roommate. Something urgent came up at the department. I'll head straight to the meeting later. You can go back first. What a coincidence. The urge to adopt a cat still outweighs the awkwardness I feel facing Hogan right now. I nodded. Where's the kitten? Let's go. I'll come with you. Hogan mentioned that this kitten had suddenly wandered into the school a few days ago. It's said to be a very wary and fierce cat. A classmate tried to feed it with cat treats but got scratched badly. There's a wound on its back that's still inflamed. Someone from our animal protection club tried to catch it but didn't succeed. Hogan led me to the fierce cat's territory. They say it usually hides here. So, are you good at catching cats? Not bad, on campus at night. Besides the dim streetlights and the occasional chirping of insects, the most common sight was young couples holding hands. Meanwhile, Hogan and I were bent over, searching for a cat in the bushes nearby. The atmosphere was too strange, so I told a cold joke. Those cats probably think you look like a good person. That's why they don't run away when they see you. Hogan tilted his head. What do you think? What, do you think I'm a good person? This question doesn't require any thought at all. Of course, you've saved so many stray animals. If it weren't for you, they'd still be homeless now, I added. By the way, you've also helped many wildlings without cats, like me. As soon as the words fell, a faint meow came from the bushes. A pair of eyes gleamed in the corner. Found it. This fierce cat is very wary of people. It arched its back, as if it knew our intentions, and began to hiss at us. But because it was so small, it looked like a fluffy ball, like cotton getting angry. I couldn't help but burst out laughing at its appearance. After nearly 2 hours of struggling with this fierce cat, we finally managed to lock it in the pet carrier. Only after catching the cat did we notice, besides the wound on its back, there was also a very thin collar tightly wrapped around its neck. It was too tight, deeply embedded in its flesh, usually hidden by the outer fur. It's hard to notice. I and Hogan rushed it to the pet hospital. A faint stinging sensation came from my palm. And under the pet hospital's light, I realized I had unknowingly scraped my skin. Fortunately, it was just a small wound. Meanwhile, Hogan looked far more disheveled than I did. His white shirt was covered in countless stains, and his rolled-up sleeves revealed arms marked with scratches and bruises of all sizes. To catch this little kitten, it's safe to say both of us came out worse for wear. Hogan, however, didn't seem to care at all. All his attention was fixed on the tightly closed operating room. His eyes filled with worry. For no reason, I stared at his profile for a moment, suddenly recalling what my roommate had said. My heart skipped a beat. I clutched my chest and abruptly stood up. I'm going to buy something. The 24-hour convenience store next door has a fairly complete selection of items. By the time I got back, the surgery had just finished. The kitten is fine. It just needs to stay in the hospital for observation for a few days. Hearing this, both Hogan and I breathed a sigh of relief. We've arranged to see the kitten together tomorrow. Once it's stable, I can take it home. Walking out of the pet hospital, I suddenly remembered the things I had just bought. Hogan, come here for a moment. My clothes were already dirty anyway. So I sat down on the steps and waved the bag in my hand at him. Inside were iodine and band-aids just bought from the convenience store. Hogan stopped in his tracks and turned around. Under the moonlight, his face appeared even more hazy, more so than in daylight. A single glance was enough to make it impossible to look away. He seemed a bit stunned. Just as my raised hand was about to go stiff, Hogan finally reacted as if snapping out of it and sat down beside me. Perhaps feeling the distance was too far, he then shifted slightly closer to me. Obediently, he reached out his hand toward me. It was then that I noticed his hair was disheveled. It was much fluffier than when he was hosting the competition. With a few stubborn strands sticking up, he looked fluffy, like a cat, making me want to reach out and touch him. I tried my best to suppress the urge to reach out and touch his hair, and instead cleaned all the wounds on his arm, afraid of awkward silence. I praised him while handling the situation. Your reaction was so quick, with such a tight collar around its neck. If you hadn't caught it tonight, who knows how long this little cat would have suffered. All right. We can head back now, eat well and rest properly. Maybe by tomorrow, all these little wounds will have healed completely. I stood up from the steps, Hogan but didn't move. He stared blankly at the treated wound on his arm, then raised his head to look at me. Hogan is very tall. Usually, I'm the one looking up at him. It was also the first time I realized that from this angle, Hogan's eyelashes were long and slender, with the outer corners of his eyes slightly upturned. Perhaps it was the moonlight being too gentle, making me feel that this night's Hogan was even somewhat alluring. A handsome man can be a distraction. When leaving, I nearly walked with the same hand and foot. Behind me, Hogan's voice rang out. All right. That night, I started dreaming. Hogan would always appear in my dreams. He had fluffy little cat ears, and if I touched them, his whole body would tremble slightly. The collar around his neck was a bit loose. With a tug, Hogan would fall towards me. Her face flushed crimson as she shyly avoided my touch, yet her cat tail stood tall, occasionally brushing against my wrist. Opening my eyes in the morning, I stared at the ceiling. I'm doomed. I actually want to hear Hogan call me master one more time. Although I don't have such a fetish, the moment I think of the person calling me being Hogan, I don't feel repulsed at all. In fact, I'd even say I'm excited. I asked my roommate gloomily, "What's up with this sudden urge to hear someone call me master?" Her eyes widened as she spat out the toothpaste foam in her mouth. "Would you listen to what you're saying? It's the 21st century, everyone is equal. If you want to be the master, someone has to be willing to be the dog." This idea had to be put on hold for the time being. Coincidentally, the club activities became busier these days, and I could only occasionally spare a day to visit the hospitalized kitten. Hogan found out and offered to take care of it for me in the meantime. Every day, I receive photos of kittens he sends on time. A kitten curled up into a ball, a grumpy kitten baring its teeth, and a kitten being held in Hogan's arms. I zoomed in on the picture, and Hogan's hands were also very attractive. Fair and slender, with well-defined knuckles, there was also an inconspicuous small mole on his ring finger. I quietly saved it to my album. In the following days, more and more photos of the kitten appearing with him emerged. One day, I received a selfie without the kitten. Hogan changed into a different shirt and sat quietly by the window, smiling gently at the camera. A minute later, the photo was retracted. "Sorry, I sent the wrong one just now," I replied instantly. "It's nothing." How could it possibly be sent to the wrong person? My roommate paced back and forth in the dorm, exasperated by my lack of response. Use your brain and think about it. Hasn't Hogan been appearing more and more in the photos? Not full-face shots either. Just glimpses, a hand here, half a profile there, and now deliberately sending you a selfie. This is totally fishing for you, waiting for you to take the bait. Who would have thought our school heartthrob is actually this kind of teasing little green tea? If it were anyone else, I'd probably think the same as my roommate, but since it's Hogan, I feel he's innocent. My roommate sighed. "You're done for." That evening, she mysteriously dragged me out of the school gate. "Wait, I have a surprise for you." I never imagined that the surprise my roommate had for me was dragging me to a butler cafe. As soon as we entered, two servers with fox ears smiled and greeted us. "Welcome, master." "Oh, don't be so stiff." My roommate pulled me down to sit. "Aren't you the one who wanted to be the master? Isn't it fun to indulge for once? Is this even the same thing? I feel like a piece of meat on the chopping block right now." The waiter with puppy ears hands me the menu and obediently bends over in front of me. "Master, don't you want to pet my ears?" I twitch the corner of my mouth. "And no, that's okay." The puppy's ears look so soft and tempting to touch. My roommate is much more at ease than I am. She picks up her phone to take photos and even pulls me into the frame. In every photo, my smile looks a bit forced, pathetic. My roommate pushed me away disdainfully. "We paid to be treated like emperors here. What are you nervous about?" They're the ones who should be nervous. Just as my phone vibrated, Hogan sent a new photo of the kitten. "Feeling much better today. Have you decided on a name for the kitten?" "I've had it in mind since the day I bought the cat bed. It's going to be Milo." Before I could send the message, I heard my roommate mutter a low curse. "Oh my God, I sent the wrong photo." Luckily I withdrew it quickly. I meant to send it to our dorm group chat, but accidentally sent it to the department group instead. Hopefully, no one saw it. A bad feeling started to creep up in my heart. "Is there anyone I know in your department group chat?" "Don't worry, there isn't," Hogan replied. "It's a small group chat, just a few people." My roommate handed me the phone, and I immediately spotted Christian's name. My vision went black. Christian probably didn't see it, right? But even if he did, he wouldn't inexplicably tell Hogan, would he? Even though I did nothing wrong, I felt extremely guilty. What you fear often comes to pass. The lop-eared rabbit waiter came to serve the meal and, as usual, asked if I wanted to touch his ears. My roommate reached out first and gave them a touch, her eyes lighting up. "Wow, these ears are so realistic. They even have warmth. Here, you try." She took my hand and placed it on the lop-eared rabbit's ear. At the same time, the coffee shop door opened, and the fox waiter said, "Welcome, master." I instinctively looked up and saw Hogan. I quickly withdrew my hand. I hastily took a sip of coffee, but it was too hot, and I swallowed it with a grimace. My roommate looked at me, then at Hogan. Her eyes rolled around as she greeted Hogan. What a coincidence, you're here